of players currently stacked up on the B site. Of course, for Wtcn, this is one of those rounds where they're playing it as a bonus. They do have a few rifles available, and there is one of them. He has just taken the head clean off of Zeke, and that was the lurk play. The rest of the team making their push, but they are moving into the majority
Geliyorum ben chat.
of that Killjoy utility, and you can see the rest of the team already running on the rotation.
Ooh, Murray's maybe wasn't expected to get spotted by that recon that considering, and Acend-Keyd up on rafters. Just seeing if he can catch any players. Look at this movement though from Heat. He's just jumped onto the spot. Bone Cold at least catches him, and MW can take out Acend-Keyd at this point. Starzone now trying to up this tempo. The trades are good.
No, incredibly good. It's left just on to Bone Cold, and he can't get anything done. A bonus round victory for Wtcn as they kick things off 3-0, and maybe a few worrying signs already for Acend, because, yeah, these are the sort of confidence plays that I think are only going to pump up Wtcn. Like, this is what they spoke about, that they're almost playing off of, like, emotion and feeling, and I'm sure for a lot of analysts that is one of the most triggering things a team can ever say, but...
Other than we play our own game.
We play our own game, yeah, we hear that one a lot. But just listening to the players, even as like before they walked out on the stage, during their walk out on the stage,
out of the team so far.
Just sitting down in their chairs, already screaming. So if they can keep this momentum going, well, Acend are going to have to break it, that's for sure.
And Acend for this map, we've not really seen. We've seen him twice since Masters. One of those was that dominant loss against Vision Strikers, but he's certainly online. I think the big question is, how good is Heat realistically against some of the other Jets or other players in the world? It's certainly up there, but you also need to see him almost put the rest of the team on his back, like Scream-esque almost.
I want to point out, Heat has 3 kills. They are all on Zeke. In each round, he's been the opening kill.
On the Rainer as well.
He found him, yeah, he found him with the Marshall. Last round, he peeked him with the rifle. He's done it with the Op. So he's already killed him, 3 different guns, 3 different rounds. Of course, in this one, an inherent disadvantage for Zeke. But they're being caught all over the shop. MW0 ready for the push, and these individual peaks are just garnering absolutely nothing for Acend.
Effectively, the fact that Heat has the operator on this early, and this is looking to be a flawless. We'll see what it's like. At least Heat can try and like keep that gun in hand. It means that for the next 8 rounds on his defense, he might still have that sniper rifle in his little paws. Now, Acend has picked up
30 seconds
that
left.
stinger, just a bit of a lighter buy from him. But from this distance, I don't think he's beaten Wtcn.
I will be a little bit annoyed if he does somehow get something done, especially now he's been spotted. It just doesn't seem like the gun that's going to be able to do anything. Yeah, look how much health he still has left, Ryan. Like, let's
God bless the sting.
Nothing, absolutely nothing. A Prime Gaming flawless coming out for the side of Wtcn. This is looking dominant thus far, and I want to touch, just before we get into the next round, on that map for a little bit, because it was something brought up by the desk. Like, realistically, Bind, I think we can give in as a shoe-in for Acend, but other than that, Ryan, I think the maps are actually pretty decent for Wtcn.
Yeah, the fact that Wtcn wanted to play this in the end says a lot about how prepared they're in, and you would expect Acend to be relatively the same. They're not the kind of team that's going to bring out KO like we saw from Crazy Raccoon, but those teams that have kind of gone, yeah, we've been working on our icebox throughout this time, Team Secret, for example, have come in and surprised. It's not like out there when it comes to strategies, but the play is tighter. That to me is much more interesting from watching those games before. But now you were saying about that attack operator, it finally gets seen off the board and Heat goes down first. Yeah,
they were waiting for Heat. They know he's going to be pushing in every single round, and as said, he's been finding an opener onto Zeke, so maybe Zeke will feel a little bit safer. He's like, oh god, good. He's dead. Maybe there's a chance I can actually survive in this round, but that 1 kill might not necessarily be the difference. We know how heavy Acend like to lean into this A site. Thanks, Jess, for that one. But we're going to see the Killjoy all pulled. Maybe just preemptively expecting this. It's been destroyed, so I guess technically they have baited out an ult on the other side from Bone Cold, but the whole team is now here ready and waiting.
Yeah, there's no flanks around. That's exactly what Keyless is checking, but now he might actually go on a bit of a lurk. He's realized how much space is here, and Zeke, the rest of his team are retreating, but he's able to hold on. These layers are so important, so the fact that Zeke has been dying first for the majority of the rounds, now we start to see him do exactly what you want to see from Arena. The amount of players that kept over on the A site just from him now. Everybody else has rotated away. Wtcn don't want to take that risk, and they can't because Zeke is still going to push.
Ay arkadaşlar, selamlar. Geliyorum. Birazdan geliyorum. Gene ben uyurken şeyler olmuş. Birine bir şey yazıyorum. Hemen geliyorum, bu yazımı tamamlayayım.
But there's going to be a lot of cash here, Ryan. It's not the end of the world just yet for Wtcn.
And they got Blade Storm as well. Even at this point, he just goes, I'm going to just retain my money for now, basically. No, I'm not going to buy up another operator. I think the interesting thing though is Keyless is one away from having a Viper's Pit. Ultimates are very much coming online on the side of Ascend. Hunter's Fury just used. I do like the fact that Ascend weren't deterred away from that A site. Usually you see that Killjoy ult being placed before the plant just to kind of scare them over to B, to fall into any traps. I mean, that's what Ascend did anyway, but the fact that Zeke was still alive, he's enough of a thorn in the side, and I think that's what makes him such a powerful player for Ascend. He's a pain in the ass to deal with.
I think you could say that for most of the members of Ascend, but I'm not going to disagree. Now again, we're going to see a different form of aggression coming out from Heat. Not going for the same battle. It's almost like that rotational AWP we've seen for years and years. He's brought it into Valorant as well. The question is anyone going to peek him? That A-site lean is definitely there once again, but you can see Ascend have already adapted. They're being caught off early in a lot of rounds from this aggressive operator, and instead, they are holding.
Utility on the side of Ascend, it's very difficult to really unearth when these operators are posted up. Most people will look at flashes as being the main thing, but like breach stuns, for example, the Aldrin is one of those things that is very good at it, but of course, being baited away by Joe, he is allowed to stay in place, and he knows that nobody's coming. The stack is moving over to A on the side of the defense.
Yeah, they put Joe there purely for the purpose of destroying the drone, just to make sure his position wasn't revealed, and as said, the rotation so far from Wtcn has been spot on. They've got pretty much every player ready and waiting, but Zeke's Empress allows him to not only find that opener, heal up, and escape, and Cned has just popped one more. Ascend starting to roll into this A-site, finding every single kill, and they're even looking to potentially try and hunt down the remainder.
That's
already.
Not a bad idea.
Look at the runaround. Like, Bone Cold's just like, right, if they're running away, I'm going to find them.
Oh, that's a nice little peek from Zeke. Like, he's still holding on, not likely to use that Blade Storm just for an eco when it comes up. Had to buy up that operator again. So saving these guns is important. So Ascend are doing well here. He can just keep chipping away. It's not like Ascend have been winning streaks of rounds in a row. Their economy is going to be okay, but not ideal. The fact that he almost feel pressured to take those fights. He fell into the Ascend trap.
It's such a different thing. Like, I really would like, I don't know if the desk can be bothered. I know they like to have a little bit of a nappy nap while the game's on. Like, I can actually see Jess from here, eyes closed. Just enjoying herself.
Değil ya. Sedat Twitch Felix'in altına bir şeyler merak etmiş. Ben de meraklarını gideriyorum.
In percentage of rounds on the attack with Cned with an operator in his hands and Cned without. Because right now, it's been 100% to 0.
There's so many like stat nerds in the scene now. I'm sure that's something that like Platch have been leaning on. Seasonal is worthy of a shout as well with the work that he's been doing in the scene for that. And it is an interesting thing, especially when you have some Jets in this tournament that don't really play the op a lot. For example, later on we see Patapan. Not really known for the op. You got BA, he's amazing with all of the guns. He is the most well-rounded one. So Cned versus Heat is going to be interesting in various ways.
Oğlum inanılmaz lan insanlar. Gerçekten inanılmaz ya. Hatırlıyor musunuz? Ben bir temiz Twitch diye bir yayın açmıştım. Hashtag'e destek vermek için. İnsanlar, bilmeyen insanlar, bu olayı bilmeyen insanlara göstermek için bir yayın açmıştım. Yaklaşık 2 saat, 3 saat bir yayın açmıştım. Bu yayını ben para için açmışım abi. Versus 4 scenario, so weaker weapons on the remaining players, so there is still quite a lot to do. And Bone Cold, he might catch a play with the outro now. A free kill for him at least. Ya inanılmaz gerçekten ya. Killers needs to stay alive, and actually his pit's about to drop. Players low on the other side, a chance to try and clear them up, but it will be Mures to put him in. Yani isyankar çocuk olacağım diye var ya. Should I say Heat win them an eco.
See, I don't know about that as well. Just in the, it wasn't even an eco, I don't think. There was still a full buy. It was just Heat just decided to use that blade storm in that given moment.
Bazen duracakları ezbilseler insanlar.
Oh yeah, he sorry, MW0 did, but I think a couple of players had Murs and stuff still had guns in hand. It was a bit of a amalgamation, so very important for them to sort of win out in the end. It's just playing from this position. It was half played from Zeke, and Stazo was already in the motion of getting the Sage wall up, the spike down.
Abi gereken şeyleri yazdım yorumun altına.
The rest of Wtcn moves into like the site to split up that Viper's pit. They completely isolate both Bone Cold and Keyless.
Selamlar, selamlar.
quick push through mid wall to isolate 3 players. Actually looking in this direction though, a good opportunity for Morris, but he's taken down almost instantly. Still though, a couple of other defenders and along with Bone Cold's Hunter's Fury, this execution looking a lot better.
Gerçekten sinirlendim ya. Gerçekten sinirlendim ya.
I don't think there's a hero to be found.
Çok fazla şeyler söylemek istiyorum, daha fazla. Ama ben onlar gibi kırıcı olmayacağım. Gerçekten belki de kariyerini etki edecek şeyler söylemeyeceğim. Gerek yok. Gereken şeyleri yazdım zaten.
Yeah, I like that though. I think that adaptation from Acend is one that I almost feel was necessary. Like we've seen some slower rounds that give someone like Heat opportunities. Instead, they just take that away from him. And actually, there were 3 players in a pretty solid position from Wtcn, maybe expecting that response, but we've seen Zeke step up, a couple of kills coming through from him, and they win this one with 4 players alive. So any chance of really destroying that economy that could have come through from the last round just dissipates in an instant.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mild hunt in the end even for Acend trying to catch onto the back of Heat. Keyless is the one that goes down. I do think that Acend though isn't
Postun altına yazdım ya.
and friends as much as people may, certainly outside of EMEA, think. Like Keyless is just a player, for example, that I feel just doesn't really maybe get the accolades as some other strong Sentinel players in the end anyway. He's looking at the 2 coaches, NBS. I think really he needs to join the Bold Gang. I think at this point, I think it'd suit him.
Stop trying to convert everyone.
Everybody.
We've been. It's happened to Achilles as
Jess
well.
and Yinsu are the main 2. Join the Bold.
Telefon numaramı unutmuş herhalde arkadaş ya.
I would like to see you try.
Halbuki 2 hafta önce arayıp abi seni çok seviyorum diyordu. İlginç.
As said, we've seen Cnet be the difference in all our rounds, and you know what? I think Acend agree with us. They've brought him back from the depths and out for the reposition. He actually getting tagged up. He's going to have to fall back out of the site, and they're going to use this to try and claim some extra space. Zeke looking for a duel, hoping that someone's going to try and fight against him. But this time, Ryan, it's a lot more passive from Wtcn.
Yeah, some of that post-plant, or anti-plant utility coming out of the side of Wtcn. Not really connecting all that much onto the star zone, to the point he's actually just staying in that spot. Defo likes to do it a little bit. Popped up onto the high ground. Bone Cold with a recon dart is going to see if any players come through on rafters, and it's just been watched keenly. This is a really nice post plan from Acend, but Wtcn still in it, dedicating the res as well. It's just
Ay, nankör abi insanlar.
Oh, Cnet's going to walk into him. Turns it into a 1v2 scenario. He's getting smashed with utility, but doesn't take much damage from it. The tap, oh, and he actually gets the conversion! This man moves on to the killjoy and finds every single headshot along the way. He's been on fire so far.
Ne konuda haklı? BFCK. Ha kardeşim.
On Killjoy, he has another lockdown ready to go. And we were worried about Ascend's like mental, right? That's a hard round to come back from. And you didn't really
Anlat
expect
bakalım.
us to be able to do that. And even just like the utility from Bone Cold and Keyless to try and like the shock darts whilst he was in that pocket around Jenny wasn't quite connecting that well.
Yeah, that is a Red Bull clutch that can put you in the dirt. A 1 versus 3, Cnet even flying over the top of his head, finding himself that sort of extra kill, and then just transferring onto the 1 versus 2. I am no at all. You know, Acend go, we need a moment. We need a moment. We've seen them in previous events during the pauses, singing some songs, doing some little clapping.
They're not doing that right now.
They're not doing that right now. And I don't really blame them, because that is not a scenario that ever should have happened. But I think we're just seeing the proof. Like, we've spoken about this many a time, so of the desk that
Ulan ben 2 aydır yayın saatimi doldurmuyorum. Alo!
Like, we've got some long-standing...
Ne yaşıyor oğlum insanlar?
This is the squad that have been
Angut musunuz lan? 2 aydır ben yayın saatimi doldurmuyorum. Az para alıyorum. Hangi paraya ihtiyacım var? Geri zekalı mısınız ya?
A big surprise, really, when you're looking at some of the teams in there. But Acend have had a lot of pressure on their shoulders.
Gerçekten uyandım, şok oldum ya.
In a few games, like the first game that I casted with Mitch, which was one of my favorite ones to do, was Acend losing to Team Vitality in stage 2.
Hani yayın saatimi doldurmaya çalışıyordum. Ne oldu? 2 saatlik açtığım temiz Twitch yayınıyla mı para kazandım ben?
Acend have done well to stay, but to be on the top, that's been the awkward part.
Oğlum ben bu platformda 10 yıldır para kazanıyorum lan. Sen ne yaşıyorsun amına koyayım?
They have been winning, have been relatively clean, and on the other side of things, of course, only one player surviving for Wtcn. So there is still very much a chance to
Ben iyi oynadığım için para kazanıyorum. Sen rahat ol. Keyfine bak.
attack rounds on this map from, well, most teams playing it. So I am starting to worry a little bit for Acend that might have bitten off a little more than they can chew this time. Cnet, I think, has just decided, you know what, I'm gonna bait that shot out because it has been heat. I want to say winning that duel more often than not.
Across multiple players, yeah. I think Cned's won it. I think the only time he did win it was over towards this tube position, actually. So now mid pressure's coming in. They baited out the operator shot, so it's like, all right, we can't really go A this time. Zeke is one orb away from having an Empress. That might be quite useful, but the concern I have is that Murray's does have that lockdown. There is no Hunter's Fury to try and combat it this time. And with time being relatively low now for Acend, that might be the play for Murray. Just get the lockdown, and then it's awkward, especially now that these utilities be dedicated and the plant's going down.
That last retake only worked because of a clutch. Now, sure, this is a completely different scenario, but Acend have done well for the most part in these scenarios. The lurk play as well from Zeke is already going to shut down one, and they expected him to leave. Instead, Starzo sticks around. He's going to pop the head of 3 and leave just one man standing. He doesn't care that he's been detected. Okay, it doesn't matter. He gets the first.
Şaşırmışlar nereye saldıracaklarını ya.
What a round from Starzo, a pop off to respond to the previous, and Acend right back on the horse. And I want to see the economy right now for Wtcn, because as I said, they survived that last one because of a clutch. That means their money might not be great.
Peki benim uyku düzenim ne olacak?
I mean, this is the round to eco on, right? You want to go to round 12 with as much.
Öğlen 12'de uyudum amına koyayım.
Especially now that you do have a Viper's Pit, you do have a Blade Storm one orb away, so he is going to.
Neyse gereken cevabı ben verdim Instagram'ın altında.
And a good one to win. I like that we're seeing teams try to adapt around that lockdown play of just keeping one player that's going to get detained, but if he can get a couple of kills, it's 100% worth it. Reminds me of Guild on Haven as well from LCQ.
I like this as well from Acend. I think they've realized, okay, chances are Wtcn want to battle for one of the ultimate orbs. Like if your jet is one away, you're going
Açtım sesi. Pardon.
So they fight both sides of the map, one side with the drone, the other with the passive players waiting. Cnet, who's going to expect him to be there? Like he is peeking out off the back of his teammate's screen, going just that little bit deeper to allow him just a bit of space. And that's enough for him to basically shut down this round. There should be absolutely no way back into this one.
And just the fact that he didn't repeat from the same angle, he's still going for these fights, but just changing it up enough. He's intelligent to know where he can see what on any given position. Whilst he loses that, well, he doesn't lose it, but he doesn't get the kill in that first fire whilst he's playing on stairs. He backs off a little bit, catches Vixen. I think they know where he is. Roughly.
Oh, they definitely do now.
They had an inkling before.
Well, him dying doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's a Prime Gaming flawless coming out from Acend as well, as they do start to build back into this half. What was looking fairly dangerous off the back from an incredible performance from Muriz, and I guess Heat as well. The thing is, though, a 6-6 scoreline, although I will say that I think Wtcn can be fairly happy with that, it's definitely not a death sentence by any stretch for Acend.
No, not at all. I think it's not even a case of, especially because it's been so long since we've properly seen Acend on this map. I think they played it once in some of the third-party tournaments in between. They didn't play it in home ground, for example. But it was never a map that they banned. It was never really a map that they picked. So there is a suggestion there that they're comfortable to be on here, and that's what it looks like, but it doesn't give you the same we are a master across different maps like Vision Strikers does. And I think that's why Acend is sort of outed as top 4 or 5 teams that are likely to win champions.
Yeah, I think looking at this especially, like, again, with this map pool, I think both teams are going to be relatively happy. Like, I think the only...
Also Acend, though, with Bind.
No, that's what I mean. It's like, you've got that one map that I think no matter what happened, like, clearly, if Wtcn don't want to play Ascent, then banning that is not really that much of a shock. It's evidently something they don't feel confident in. Then it was either going to be that or Bind, so they're picking the lesser of two evils. The other two maps in the pool are fine, but if I was going to pick two maps personally that I almost bet on
Çok
Ascend
birinin
to
bana
win in
ithafen
this
yazdığı
series,
postun
it
altına
would
cevap
be
yazdım ben.
Bind, obviously, and then Breeze. Like, I think their Breeze, especially just because it looks like a map that really suits Wtcn, open spaces. I feel like he's almost like some sort of like, I don't know, like
Toplin'in cevabının altına yanıtlı olarak. Doğru bir yere yazdım
He's just
yani.
let off the chain.
Yeah.
He's just like the Tasmanian devil.
Letting your dog out in the park.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, it is one of those things though where he's set free with that operator and he's just so good on that map. So even though it's one that I think
Atarlar
5-0
haber
right
zaten.
for Wtcn,
Olurcanlar.
I think this is a very
Ne oldu
different
Kesitler?
level
Ne
of
oldu
team
oğlum?
that they're going to be coming up against.
Böyle bir şey.
I guess the big thing when you're looking at the Jets, like the section of Balor was talking about at the start.
Abi 2 saatte bir Switch yayını yaptım Muti.
Said it in the NA little films.
2 saat. O 2 saatlik temiz Twitch yayınının geliri kaç? 100.000 dolar mı? 200.000 dolar mı ne?
Could evolve into. I think all of the Jets really want to be leaning in that direction in particular.
Ay, gideceğim adama donate atacağım amına koyayım ya.
Perfect comparison of what a Jet player should be. Cned is
Ya gerçekten inanılmaz oğlum insanlar ya. Komikler abi.
And also it's just like we've seen him throughout the year. We didn't know what he looked like this time last year when he was playing for Norpengi. Then we see him on camera. You could tell that he's shy, a little cute thumbs up. Now he's on a stage in front of hundreds of thousands of people. And you could tell just from looking at him in a lot of cases, he seems a little more comfortable here than he
Sorry,
did
Fezim.
Yeah, I think maybe taking a little bit
Tor
of time
FM.
to get into the rhythm of things. I'll also be interested, like just from a personal perspective, to see that when hopefully we get crowds, that's a completely different ball game. I think a lot of people, a lot of pros will say that like sitting on a stage.
WhatsApp'tan değil Insta'dan yazıyorum.
From home. But the second you get that noise, that screaming, maybe even some booing here and there, depending on what country you're in, depending who the home fans are, that's where the game becomes very, very difficult.
You don't have a machine to tell them off.
Tamam kanka, postun altından konuşalım seninle.
We did. I'd love to see Maçini here, but no, it's one of those things that's definitely going to be another level for a lot of these players. I have to say as well, like we talk about this being like the group of Jets. I really want to see if Panaman's actually going to be playing Jet, because we set that up last time. We saw
he's
him,
just going to be on Sky,
and then he was just but he was playing Viper.
Gözlerim
Like, we
yanıyor.
saw him a Viper and Sage last time he was here, and I was just kind of like, you're meant to be like the Jet of your region, one of the best players, and you're just like wrecking people, sage walling over mid on Ascent, and I'm like, you're a madman.
Yeah.
But I'm excited.
He plays for the fun of it, you know what I mean? Like he likes to sort of test the boundaries. We should be back in game shortly, just if not a couple more minutes time.
Yeah, monitor issue. It happens sometimes. Yeah. It happens. So
That's what I blame.
Oh, have we gone from a tech to attack? There you go.
I've never seen that before. We need more time.
Ezer Göksel 21. ayın kutlu olsun kardeşim, hoş geldin.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when it is a tech pause, there is no talking really. It's not like the coach can come in during the tech
you got to
pause.
learn how to like talk just through eye contact.
Hive mind. Yeah.
That's what
Who
we
would
do.
have the biggest high? It'd be Vision Strikers, right? I feel like they're always on the same page.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to look into Stax's eyes, because every time I did during the press conference, I got more scared of him. I was like,
Ya ben ne güzel saat 4'te falan uyanmıştım ya. 4.30'da.
They still changed it up. I was like, yeah, I can understand that they want to flood their money a little bit, just show off that, hey, we can get free operators if we want, but we're not Team Liquid, so we're not going to.
They do still have
they still have two.
I guess they just want to fight. Oh dear. Okay. Maybe a little bit over aggressive that time from Heat. Try to find someone.
Okay. Tamam, maça dönüyoruz.
Now I guess it's because they've also used the Viper's Pit.
Maça dönüyoruz. Maçız. Durum 6-5.
Yeah, and Zeke actually leaving the operator on the ground. He can switch and swap if he wants, and I like what Cned was doing. He got that initial kill. He was still firing. You know, there's an operator over.
Bivestim, bunu bana değil kardeşim. Bunu bana değil. Ona yazacaksın. Bu konuyu açan, bu konuyu başlatan ben değilim.
Wtcn right now have absolutely no clue what's going on. I can tell you that for the exact reason that Viper's Pit, they could have crossed over. They don't know. There's also been a drone that's gone through their own Viper's Pit on the other side of the map, and in reality, the attackers are pushing B long. So there is no information whatsoever. You can see Joe's just started like calling to his team. They're actually on B. You've gone A. They're planting here. I'm on my own. Is he about to get shot in the back? He is. Just had no idea. They've been completely confused, bamboozled by Acend, and it leaves just 2 players left, right, to try and bring back around where I'm sure they just want it to end.
Yeah, and even the fact that MWZ had to use an Eldron from so far out to clear kitchen. Now that's the area that Kilo.
Kesper dur şu round
In a
bitsin.
1 versus 5, I love that Acend used
Round
that.
bitsin.
Oh no, that's heartbreaking. Prime Gaming flawless to close it out though, Ryan. And yeah, I definitely think that's one of the more interesting uses for a Viper's pick. Like putting it down mid almost just as that like distraction to completely confuse their opposition. So I like it. I think it's something a little bit different. And I do start to wonder if there's going to be a few more little gimmicks or little things that Acend are going to be throwing in off of that.
Well, it was just the fact that we had that tack timer after the tech is just, that could be Acend going, hey, let's do this. Let's really get under their head. And also just tech pauses take the momentum out sometimes, that just having a plan, having an idea, just keeping the mental high is why that tap pause came in the end, but Acend used it very much to their advantage.
Well, you know what? I assume we're going to be heading this one back over to the desk so they can have a little bit of a chat about what has gone on, and I'm interested to see what they thought of that final round as well.
It's lovely.
It's a fair assumption there, Tom. Heading back over to us for halftime. Equalized 6-6 with a flawless final round there for Acend. But I like where we're at. Dead even going into halftime for both of these teams. We talked about it needing to get done for Wtcn here on Icebox. And the way they started, and Muri specifically, 4K pistol round, he's feeling hot.
I mean, the man couldn't stop. Whether or not he's on a Killjoy or not, I don't think it matters to him. I think he just understands where he needs to be, how he needs to capitalize, and that's a strength for Wtcn because on the pre-desk, didn't we say every other player on Wtcn outside
Yarısını pede işemiş, yarısını yere işemiş amına koyayım ya.
The man was like, where's my spotlight? Get me on the desk.
Right, and now he's top fragging for the squad. Of course, it seems natural that right behind him is Heat. And it didn't take us long to find our HyperX reflex moment of the day. It came in round 3. It was Heat finding a single kill on the A push by Acend. But the reaction time there was sick. Let's see if we can get a look.
Çocuk mu? Ulan benden büyük lan. Benden büyük oğlum Kesper. 5 yaşında 5x7.
Do we have this slow-mo? Can we get this in like a slow? Yeah, there
5 yaşında amına.
I love it. You said how many times can we watch it? I mean, it's so quick. We could fill 2 minutes with watching it 120 times.
It's a nasty shot. Like, because not only is it just like a chest flick, it's right on the skull. He gets it in the moment. In the moment that he pulls the trigger, he's already scoped out. He's dashing away to stay safe. It's just beautifully done.
So that was round 4. It gave Wtcn a very early lead, and that's what you wanted to see. But we also have to talk about the way that Acend was able to claw back into it.
All I gotta say, man, I checked out the stats on their attacking, and they start off incredibly slow, but not even just their pushes for plants were slow. They
Haftaya derbim varmış.
Seconds slower to get
Beşiktaş
the
maçı mı?
throughout that entire half than any other time they've ever played Icebox. I don't know if this is a strategy for Acend throughout this entire tournament, but 30 seconds on average slower than you usually hit site, man, that's slow.
Tom also, well, he flamed us first,
Yes,
but then
correct.
asked us to
Merve'nin
do some
mesaja
work
bak.
on his behalf, which feels like a weird approach to
Kanka,
me. But he's
WhatsApp'ım
lucky
var
that
ya.
we love him enough to have done it. You asked what was the
Curcuna ya.
percentage of wins for Acend in rounds where CNED had an op in his hand. They won 4 of 6 of those rounds. So Tom, we're going to throw it back to you. Do what you will with those
Bunları
stats.
sonra bakacağım. Ben kafamı oraya çeviremem.
4-6 is good.
That's about 70% of the time, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's what Bal was saying.
Yeah, but it's always 70%. No matter what the stat is, it's 70%.
Yeah.
But here we go. We've seen aggression from one Jet. We're getting some.
Hadi oğlum Cila.
Up above. Is the drone?
Tek.
Now they've actually got the wall,
Tabii.
but he has definitely been
Hemen
spotted
geri.
to be able to escape before any real trouble begins.
Tamam yok.
Let's try and back away. Again, 4 players already over here, just leaving the lone player of Zeke.
Yeah, and you also have this toxic screen as well, which
Ya
is
bu-
purely retake. So Morris is going to see this go. Maybe the site's completely open because usually you see that toxic screen go up to try and retain the site. Zeke thought he was big braining, but Heat there just on the high ground catches him out on that crossfire. Lovely play, but that utility's already set up from Acend. They are going to have to meander over. And with Morris still alive, I wonder how much he's lurking, because right now he's just planted face first into Ascend sightline.
Oh, this is aggressive already. They're going to get things back into a more even scenario, and it has to be the fallback of the opposing Jet and Heat. They haven't even managed to get themselves the spike down. This is a retake before they've even got the plant. Ascend just come running.
Bravo lan size. Helal olsun lan size.
It seemed like their game plan, at least from Wtcn, was a solid one. But Ascend disrupt them before they can get anything done.
I think so much of this game as well is just going to come down to
Özge Hanım'ın da selam var Ferit, bugün ilettim. Çok teşekkür ederim,
This
eyvallah.
isn't necessarily the smartest play for players like Morris to be facing up as aggressive like this kind of play. But if Morris wins that fight, he gets into the ahead of Ascend. And if they start whipping shots, which to be honest, we did see a little bit in Masters 3 of, I think that's the win condition. We're used to seeing that when Ascend are doing well. But remember when they were, what, 4-0 down at the start? Didn't hear a peep from them.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like Starzo's always like just moving that little bit. It's just how much he's moving. The more they're winning, the more he moves. That's what I've learned, at least.
It's like APM.
For now, though, a lot of information found. The drone down mid will spot a couple of players, and in fact, they're going to use this to bolster up their B defense. But this seems to be the plan in a lot of rounds initially from Wtcn, is just have that spot over to B, see if they can find anything on the opener. If not, fall back, slow it down, maybe try and disrupt what Ascend have been doing.
There's a bit of information for Ascend to hear. A couple of the classic shots used to break that wall. It means that there is going to be a bit of movement across. The Marshal posted up on B main, so Wtcn's going to keep an eye. And I don't think at this point Vixen's been, putting up that wall to try and bait the interest. It's an open sightline for Wtcn there to just keep tabs on it. Mid is being watched loosely from Keyless. And this is just good map control from Ascend. Nothing too egregious. They don't want to get eco'd at all. It's just patient stuff. And if Zeke as well can have a bit more success from this position, he's up on the high box on this defense. Means that Wtcn need to be
Ayıp Ferit abi yayını izleyip yayın saati kasıyorsunuz.
This could become a little bit rough. He's got the ability.
Haksız kazanç elde ediyorum değil mi?
Well, eventually it will come through. Starzo falls, so again,
Allah'ım sana çok şükür yarabbim. Hayatımın hiçbir noktasında haksız kazanç elde etmedim. Sana çok şükür yarabbim. Gerçekten.
One other thing I wanted to mention as well with Morris, 14-9 currently. First official game on Killjoy. Probably to nobody's surprise.
Ulan o yayında bile sürekli chat'teydim lan. Müzik açıyordum, chat'le trollüyordum falan ya. O yayında bile etkileşim içerisindeydim amına koyayım. Ulan Elogust'a bile emek verdim lan. Sabahımı gündüzüme kattım. İnsanların elolarını bronzdan çıkarmaya çalıştım amına koyayım. Oğlum asıl Elobust emek lan. Götüm çıktı amına koyayım bronz. O bronz eloyu biliyor musunuz? Bir yaşayın orayı ya. Bak Şükrü bilir, Şükrü buradaysa. Cehennem amına koyayım, cehennem. Challenger Elo'dan daha zor.
For now, this is a very good purchase for Ascend. They've just got those bonus weapons from before, a pistol alongside the Spectres. The range game is going to clearly favor the side of Wtcn. And by the looks of it, they're going to have a fairly easy B plant because the rest of the players are currently looking to try and challenge into mid.
It's scary though, you don't really have that Aldrin. It was used already from MW. You might not even had the money to get it at this point. If you're looking at Heat, he's only got 25 armor, so even though this is a full buy, only just in some of these cases.
Ya birader, ben Elobust yaptım. Evet, Riot'a göre bir hataydı. Oyun kurallarına göre bir hataydı. Bunu kabul ediyorum. Zaten beni aradıkları anda, Bahadır beni aradığında ne inkar ettim ne bir şey yaptım. Evet kardeşim ben yaptım dedim yani. Ve cezam neydi? Bir sene turnuvalardan men edilmekti. Cezamı çektim. Mapus'ta yattım. Çıktım aslanlar gibi tekrardan profesyonel oyunculuğumu yaptım. Salak salak yerlerden vurmaya çalışmayın amına koyayım. Sanki adam öldürdük ya. Barış Şahin 83 ay be. Barış'ım çok teşekkür ederim. Çok sağ ol. Cansın bir tanesi. Eyvallah. Ya Arslan, banla yayıncılığımın pek alakası yok ya. Ben ban yediğim gün Elebus şirketi kurdum.
He's managed to get quite far. I don't know if they've realized that he's got all the way through, and Bone Cold's going to be the one to catch a bullet for it. Now Killers is in a horrible spot. He either has to face the wrath of the full team, or try and catch them on the way, and he does exceptionally well. Starzo even going to wall up over the top, try and battle them, but he takes the brunt of the damage. A 2 versus 2 scenario in the lurk coming through from Heat is not going to be expected at all. It's left on to Starzo to try and bring this one back, and he gets nothing.
Oğlum maç da fena oluyor ha.
Scoreline equalized. Wtcn back.
Even then, you're forcing Acend to do what Starzo did, the sort of wall boost plays, the kind of things that you see from well-known security agents, right? It's forcing over egregious plays from Acend on his defense just to try and catch Wtcn off guard, but like I mentioned, that team plays.
Arkadaşlar selamünaleyküm.
Aleykümselam. Ferit güzel çıktı abi.
Haksız kazanç Wtcn online amına koyayım.
Ne?
Abi beni de görmüyor. Alo Ferit. Ne oldu? Niye götün çıktı?
Görmüyor. Abi gel dedim Discord'da boş yapasım var dedim. O da kaçtı amına koyayım.
Ha. İyiyim, ne olsun. Al gibiyim ya. Uyku. İyice şaştı.
Müthiş uyanmışsındır ama.
Çok. Gerçekten müthiş uyandım. Haykırarak uyandım amına koyayım.
Zımba gibi.
Makarnex dediğimiz.
I never really like to judge a team just on their icebox performance because I feel like it's a
Ne olan Makarnex?
simplified map than a lot of the others we have in the pool.
Hazır
I
makarna.
don't want to take too much, but
sometimes that's nice though.
True.
Especially for a first map that we've seen Wtcn in a while. It's just a good.
Geçen hazır makarna vardı evde. Bir tane. Buldum böyle. Yapayım dedim. Son kullanma tarihine bir bakayım dedim ya. 2020'de biten hazır makarna yiyordum az kalsın.
Ya ne olurdu ki lan?
Ölürdüm büyük ihtimal. Midem falan
Hayır canım
delinirdi.
saçmalama abi.
Nasıl saçmalama?
Gıda zehirlenmesi.
En fazla götten
Mideni
işedin
yıkarlar
ya.
ya.
Aynen öyle.
Ama sosluydu.
Var ya.
Bir 2 ay falan harbiden götten işerdim bu arada ya.
Tazikli atardın abi.
As they confirm their lead now, and as I said, we're waiting for a response because a lot of the time we do expect some stellar attacking sides, and thus far that's what
Ferit
we've got.
maçlarına content bulmak lazım abi.
Enes kitabım Nefertari. 86 mı ne? Galiba. Kanka hoş geldin.
Hoş buldunuz, hoş buldunuz. Rauf beyler.
Olarak
Ben iyi bir yerde böyle oldu.
Tabii ki.
Olağan yazıyoruz kanka.
Sıkıldı.
Hayır alakası yok.
Acend yeniliyor ya.
Rafa bu Ferit de bozdu ha.
Ne oldu lan? Niye bozdu yine?
Dur abi.
Ha. Amına koydum seni.
İzleyerek saat kasıyor baksana.
Then he has to try and back out, so this is becoming quite a problem. Zeke as well popping the Empress as they look to try and push through, and Killers has actually been trapped, but it almost works as a bit of a bait. If they tried to push him down, there were plenty of players ready and waiting. Even still though, it is going to be the plant come through, and he manages to get the opener.
The Viper's pit being down now is not really too much of an issue. The lurk was attempted from Joe, but in fact moved away. I think he was caught by the turret setup in the end from Morris, and now the Hunter's Fury coming through, trying to see if he can catch anybody as another Viper's pit's dedicated on the defense, the attack this side even. It's a bit of a mess, but Ascender coming out.
Yeah, they're doing well from this.
Oha!
That's just a triple, a quad spray down from MW0.
He'd even used the
Ne oldu abi orada?
It's just
Oğlum Mazera neye vurdu da ama ne gördü de vurdu amına
I
koyayım.
can't believe it. I think we need a replay of whatever he just did because that spam through.
Ne oluyor ya?
That play.
Bu maymun
is one of the
sigara
reasons
içiyor.
they wanted
Peki nasıl?
this
Hadi
hot
inceleyelim.
property.
Bildiğiniz gibi
It's alone,
orangutanlarla
but you know, I feel like
%98
this is
genetik
almost looking
benzerlik
like
oranımız var.
that 10
Gerçekten
scenario. It's
inanılmaz.
like, yeah, we've
Bu
loaned
benzerlik
him out.
kaslardan sinirine kadar gerçek.
They
Bu
might just
benzerlikten
have to
dolayı
pay the
orangutan
big
parlament
bucks because
uzatırsanız
these
sizi
are the sort of
reddetmeyecektir.
plays that are
Peki
making a
orangutana
difference.
support gold verirseniz ne olur? Bu da başka bir videonun konusu.
We've seen that a couple of times
So
now from
loud he
Acend.
broke the mic.
Yeah, it just mutes. A production are like mute.
When you scream so loud, you cause a technical pause.
Apparently we're getting calls from Central
Ne
Berlin saying they
yaptım?
heard that from over there.
Oh yeah,
I think they heard that all the way back in Brazil, to be
we're
fair.
getting some noise complaints. We heard someone shouting. But yeah, no, a truly ridiculous play, and we've seen a few of these now, like Mures as well. We've mentioned him already, but this was around, as you said, up until that exact moment. The Ryan curse came through. It was like, it's looking pretty good for a set, and then they all died. They all got sprayed down by that multi-frag, and there was a lot invested into that round from both teams. Like that early Viper's pick coming through, we saw the Hunter's Fury, but it's a round especially for the attackers. I really don't mind them doing that. You know that this has been a round where Acend basically saved up.
Kanka salıya kadar bir 50.000 lira borç var mı ya? Parayı...
Olur. Olur.
Salıya kadar mı peki?
Salıya kadar ya.
Sami sen daha şey yapmayacaksın, gitmeyeceksin. Versene. Arkadaki birikim yukarı.
Nereye la?
Kalite.
Ben nereye gitmeyeceğim onu anlamadım ki ama.
Sağa sola.
İzlenme saatlerim dolmadı da aynen öyle arkadaşlar.
Even then, Furia scared him a little bit yesterday. Gambit, it was a bit more clinical. Still an area where you kind of go, especially me, wants to see Gambit.
Ulan bunu yazarken gidip bakmıyor musun ya? Ulan ben son 2 ay izlenme kotamı dolduramadım ya. Saatimi dolduramadım. Alo. Ben geçen ay 30 saat yayın yaptım lan.
Geçen adam Rauf abiden kredi kartını istedi amına koyayım ya.
30 saat yayın yaptım ya. Gerçekten tutamıyorum kendimi ya.
Zeke hoping to try and find something on aggression, not really getting anything for it. They are, however, walking into the blade storm of Wtcn, and if anything can turn around, it would be this player with this weapon.
I also think this is just a good map for MW0 when it comes to playing solo for the first time, because it is just very straightforward with using that utility.
Benim bank batıyor mu o zaman? Ya siz rahat olsanız ya. Siz rahat kesilseniz arkadaşlar.
It is working because Acend now are starting to try and make those hero plays. What Heat was punished with on the defense, now Zeke is, and Keylez with that Sheriff wanted to try and surprise. It was cute, but Wtcn are not going to fall for it. Not lost a player yet.
Yeah, I think this is the man we need to be watching though. If there's anybody who can at least make this costly, it's going to be seen there, but again, in these afterplants, I've been fairly impressed by Wtcn. They look strong, haven't really been making too many silly mistakes, and
İzle Cino'yu. Cino'yu izlet.
Cino'yum şu an.
Çok güzel tarzı. Yapma be Cino be.
Eyvah eyvah. Eyvah eyvah. Cino bunları vurdu ya.
Yeah, nice attempt. Also being onto Mures and Joe going down. Not a big deal. Like Joe being 5 and 15 is just kind of par for the course for him. Like technically, like ACS is one of the lowest in the
Peki açmam lazım ne o?
IGL, to be fair. And also playing the Sage, he's
bazı
just,
şeyler var evet.
he's like FedEx.
Bakayım mı olur?
They got 3 superstar players. Like, does he need to frag? I feel like if they do not win this game now,
daha
I'm
neler.
looking at just
Daha neler çocuklar.
saying, okay, what went wrong elsewhere?
He's got what Stevens might, but we're just saying.
Here we go. Again, a very fast-paced take. They'll know that there's a buy coming up here for Acend, and then the last time they spammed their ultimates to get it through, they've spotted out killers early on.
Kiles adamı sıkacaksın
What's the
abi. Eyvallah
response
sağ
here?
olasın.
MW0 is already going to tag him at the back, so he's going to be isolated. But Starzo, he's managed to thread Danito. He gets nothing though. The turnaround from Joe. We mentioned that fragging ability. That might be the most important kill of the round. Still though, Bone Cold trying to do something in response. He's actually getting shot back, but he gets the kill onto Vixen anyway. Turning it into an advantageous position, but they've still got plenty.
Cinet'in kolunda bayrağı varmış şu an gördüm.
These afterplants thus far have been
Hepsinin
strong.
Kolunda şey var ya. Kendi bayrakları var.
Güzel güzel.
Zeke hadi lan. Aldı.
Zeke neredeydi ki bu saate kadar ama?
Herkes karambit sallıyor ya.
Çok
iyi abi.
Biraz daha büyük olabilirmiş ya.
Alakası yok abi.
Elit'inki kadar olsa
Tabii
okey.
yenme. Yok zaten sizin bildiğinizi biliyorum abi. İnsanlara da kendimi ispatlamama gerek yok çok şükür. Yayın saatin neredeyse bazılarının yaşına tekabül ediyor yani. O yüzden sıkıntı yok yani. Ben sadece bireysel olarak sinir olduğum şeyler için oraya cevap yazdım. Yorum yap. O kadar.
The other thing as well is I feel like other than we saw KO I guess earlier in the tournament, but in terms of innovation, other than like the envy sort of raise instead of the sage, I don't think we've seen anything.
Doppi 14. yayında olsun. Ezer Göksel 21 aydır. Doğa 29 aydır. Çok teşekkürler. Hoş geldiniz. Çok sağ olun.
Yeah, but I mean we've seen that before. It's not like it's different for them, but more so
Va aleyküm selam kanka abi. Hoş geldin.
We weren't expecting the side of Acend to just be like, we now do this. Like it's not a surprise
Tabii.
to see they're playing
Tabii İbra.
same way they are. The thing is though, I still feel like there have been maybe a whiff here or there. Like Starzo in that moment, I feel like he has to get the kill. Like Joe turning him, managing to find one back, and then the round just falls apart. And on the other side of things, we've got 3 players who are just absolutely popping. We're the 3 that have been pretty much hyped up as like the duelists of this squad. And in terms of the streak of rounds now,
Olur mu? Ajan patates.
Yeah.
Ben bu odayı mimara yaptırdım da o mimarın parasını o 2 saatlik açtığım temiz Twitch yayınında kazandım abi. Onunla ödedim ben. Tabii.
Ne oluyor lan?
O nasıl bir kapıydı lan?
Bu kapı değildi bence.
Tabii.
Tabii Wtcn tabii. Olur abi. Aynen.
Their opponents try and adapt. Wtcn pick up the pace. They're going running straight in towards this site. Zeke's already dead and it's Muriz again. 2 kills
Ne yapıyorsun Muriz?
at least is able to respond.
Brother from another mother.
The orbs already being retrieved. Maybe trying to get a little bit closer to that res. Joe is going to get himself another. Still quite far away from bringing a player.
Tamam saldım. Testoid özür dilerim. Saldım tamam.
But a cost of a lot of HP. There is, however, a res on the other side. Acend would need to try and find a player here, and Bone Cold has been brought back, putting them in an advantageous spot. Killers has found another, making this one look more than possible, but he still stands alongside MW0.
Pardon lan bir dur.
Çok iyi Cino.
Friendly fire.
Eyvah ama 10 can.
Burada yetiştirdi de hiçbir şey olamaz.
Güzel çok güzel. Çok güzel.
Yeah, and the fact that Acend have been struggling in those kind of rounds, we haven't seen them have those insane clutch outs, and MW0, he had those shock deaths ready to go, but just the decisions, inexperienced maybe on the role playing at least somewhat of a part. Sure, if it was on Raze, he would have blast packed his face right in there to an extent. But really good play from Cena.
Derdin ne Kesper? Gözünü seveyim ya.
Especially losing 2 players so early in that round and being out an ultimate. And with that buy, that's the kind of tight Acend play that you really want to see in a tournament like this.
Hadi gel.
Again though, it's those openers. Like Wtcn still managed to get 2 straight into the site and
it's not deterring Acend though, look, they're still pushing. Like they're putting up the Sage Wall, the Aldron to get information. It makes sort of re-aggressing onto this A site more difficult. But Zeke is still just trying to face. He's been doing a little bit, punished mostly, but I do like this angle. Joe being able to wall it up, there's not really going to be too much seen. Wtcn at this point not over-aggressing, it's just straightforward post-plant, sit back, killjoy lockdowns, creating a lot of different space. And the resurrect if they need it.
Sıkıldı.
And on the other side of things, sure, there's a couple of ults that are not far away. The Blade Storm, also the Empress, just 1 kill needed to get either of those online. They've got a lot still to do.
Tam bir unit ya.
They've got this retake wall available. Cned is going to get 2 already. Looking like this is possible with Vixen fighting. Looking to try and spray them down. It's
tek kaldı. Aman!
Oy. He's found
41 can.
Ne yapıyorsun lan? Gaza gelme.
Kim mermi?
Abi.
Tak.
Abi.
Ne diyorsun be? Evet, Cino'ya jet tipi koydular.